If you're hearing this right now, don't ignore it. This isn't just another message. Something happens at 3 a.m. It's not a superstition. It's not just another random moment on the clock. It holds a deep spiritual weight that most people don't even realize. And today, you're about to understand why. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason? Felt a strange pull, a heavy silence in the air, like something beyond this world was trying to reach you? That's not a coincidence. That's not just your mind playing tricks on you. It's a call to wake up, not just physically, but spiritually. Right now, whether you stumbled upon this message by chance or felt drawn to it, know this: there are no accidents in the spiritual realm. You were meant to hear this. There's something shifting in your life, something stirring in your spirit, and maybe you felt it for a while but couldn't quite put it into words. That restlessness inside you, that sense that something is about to change but you don't know what. This might be the answer you've been waiting for. At 3 a.m, the world is quiet. Distractions fade, and in that silence, the spiritual world speaks louder. It's the hour of revelation, the hour when battles in the unseen realm intensify, the hour when breakthroughs happen. If you've been feeling lost, if you've been searching for clarity, if you've been crying out for direction, this is your moment, and I need you to do something. I need you to take this seriously. I need you to open your heart, open your mind, and be ready. Because by the end of this, we're going to pray together. And this prayer, this is not just any prayer. This is the most powerful prayer Jesus ever taught us. You might think you know it. You might have said it 1,000 times before. But tonight, it will mean something completely new. Tonight, it will awaken something inside you. 3 a.m. is not just another hour of the night. It's a threshold, a doorway between what was and what's coming. Think about it. This is the hour when your body is in its deepest state of rest, when the world around you is asleep, but your spirit is awake. Your spirit is listening. This is why so many people wake up at this exact time, sensing something they can't explain. Maybe you've been feeling stuck. Maybe life has been pressing down on you, filling your days with stress, with anxiety, with uncertainty. Maybe you've been searching for something, but no matter what you do, it feels like you're just running in circles, unable to move forward. If that sounds familiar, then listen closely. This is for you. There are moments in life when everything seems to stand still, when it feels like you're waiting for something to shift, something to open, something to make sense. And what if I told you that this moment, right now, could be the sign you've been asking for? What if I told you that God has been trying to get your attention, not with loud, dramatic signs, but in the stillness of the night, when everything else fades away? Because sometimes it's not in the noise, not in the chaos, but in the quiet. Moments when we finally hear the voice of God. And maybe that's exactly why you're here. Maybe that's why you're still listening. Maybe deep inside, you already know that this isn't just another message. This is a divine appointment. This is a moment of awakening, and I want you to do something right now. I want you to step into this moment with faith. I want you to take this seriously. If something inside you is stirring, if something inside you is saying this is for me, then I want you to declare it right now. Comment, I am ready. Say it out loud if you need to. Let your faith take action. Because when you acknowledge that you're ready, when you open yourself up to receive, you create space for God to move. You create space for transformation. And what's about to happen next will not just be words, it will be power. So stay with me. Because together, we're stepping into something deeper, something greater, something life-changing. There's something powerful about the early hours of the morning. Throughout the Bible, we see time and time again that the darkest hours of the night were moments of transformation, moments when heaven and earth seemed to touch. Moses climbed the mountain in the early hours, seeking God's direction. Jesus, knowing what was coming, prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane while his disciples struggled to stay awake. Paul and Silas, beaten and imprisoned, didn't wait for the morning. They lifted their voices in worship at midnight, and before dawn, the prison doors flung open, their chains broken. This is no coincidence. The spiritual realm doesn't follow the same patterns as our physical world. While most people are asleep, unaware of what's happening around them, the greatest battles are being fought and the greatest breakthroughs are being released. If you've ever woken up at this hour with no explanation, if you've ever felt something pressing on your spirit but couldn't understand why, then know this: you are not alone. 3 AM is a dividing line, a moment where something shifts. It's the hour when spiritual battles intensify, but it's also the hour when those who are faithful receive clarity, direction, and divine instruction for what comes next. It's no accident that so many people report feeling an unexplained heaviness, a deep stirring, or even having vivid dreams at this exact time. God is moving when the world is quiet. Why? Because when the distractions are gone, when the noise fades, when the world is at rest, your spirit can hear more clearly. The enemy knows this too. That's why the battle is often fiercest in these hours. Doubts creep in. Fear whispers. Anxiety seems to grow stronger. But for those who choose to seek God instead of giving in to those voices, this hour becomes a moment of supernatural breakthrough. There's a reason why so many testimonies of miracles, deliverance, and answered prayers are tied to this hour. People have seen impossible doors open, have been freed from addictions, have received healing, have had their lives completely turned around, all in the stillness of the early morning. Some wake up feeling a deep, unshakable peace they can't explain. Others wake up in tears, overwhelmed by the presence of God. Some receive revelations in their dreams, answers to prayers, warnings, or confirmations of things they had been asking for. Maybe this has happened to you. Maybe you've woken up unexpectedly at 3 AM, heart pounding, mind racing, feeling something you couldn't put into words. Or maybe you felt a pull to pray, but ignored it, thinking it was just restlessness. But what if that moment was God calling you? What if that was the exact moment He wanted to reveal something to you, but you turned over and went back to sleep? I want to tell you a story. A woman named Sarah had been struggling for years. She was facing a storm in her marriage, in her finances, in her faith. She felt like she was drowning, and no matter how much she prayed during the day, she felt like heaven was silent. She reached a breaking point one night, crying out to God, telling Him that she didn't know what else to do. That night, at exactly 3 AM, she woke up with a deep sense that she needed to pray. She didn't understand why, but she obeyed. She got out of bed, fell to her knees, and started praying, not with fancy words, not with rehearsed prayers, but from the depths of her soul. And something happened. In that moment, she felt something lift off of her. She described it as if chains she didn't even know she had were suddenly broken. Tears streamed down her face, but for the first time in months, she felt peace. The next day, doors started opening in ways she couldn't explain. Her husband, who had been distant and cold, suddenly opened up to her. A financial opportunity she had given up on suddenly came back to life. And most importantly, she felt her faith reignite. What changed? It wasn't her circumstances, it was her obedience. She responded to the call. She chose to step into that sacred moment instead of ignoring it. And God met her there. How many times have we missed moments like this? How many times has God tried to get our attention, but we've been too distracted, too tired, too doubtful to respond? What if the thing you've been waiting for, the answer you've been asking for, has been waiting for you in the quiet of the night? If you've been waking up at 3 AM and you don't know why, I want you to start paying attention. Start listening. Start seeking. The next time it happens, don't just roll over and go back to sleep. Get up, pray, open your heart. Because this could be the moment where everything changes. If you feel like your life has been one test after another, if it seems like every time you try to move forward, another obstacle appears in your way, I need you to hear this. This is not a punishment. This is preparation. No one chosen by God walks through life without trials. Every person who was ever meant for something greater had to go through seasons of struggle, of refining, of breaking before stepping into their purpose. Think about gold. Gold in its raw form is not beautiful. It doesn't shine. It doesn't stand out. It has to go through fire-intense heat, burning away impurities, removing everything that does not belong until only the purest, most valuable form remains. Without that fire, it would never reach its full potential. And that's exactly how God works with those He chooses. Look at the wheat. Before it can be turned into bread, before it can be used for something meaningful, it has to go through a process. It has to be separated from the chaff, the outer layers that serve no purpose. It has to be crushed, ground, refined. Only then does it become something that nourishes, something that gives life. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you feel like you are in the fire, like you are being crushed under the weight of life's challenges, and you don't understand why. But what if I told you that this pain, this struggle, is not the end? What if I told you that it's simply part of the process of making you into something greater? God never calls the unprepared. He never places someone in a position of greatness without first shaping them into the person who can carry that responsibility. If you have been feeling tested, if it seems like every time you take a step forward, life knocks you 2 steps back, it's not because you are forgotten. It's because you are being molded into someone who can handle the blessing that's coming. Think of Joseph. He had a dream as a young boy, a vision of his future, a promise from God. But before he could step into that destiny, he had to be betrayed by his own brothers. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned for years. Imagine the thoughts that must have gone through his mind. Imagine the nights he spent wondering if he had misunderstood, if maybe God had forgotten about him. But the truth was, God hadn't abandoned him. God was preparing him. Every betrayal, every injustice, every lonely night was not the end of his story. It was a setup for something greater. And when the time came, when he had been refined, when he had grown into the man who could carry the weight of the calling on his life, Joseph stepped into his purpose. He didn't just survive, he was placed in a position to save an entire nation. Maybe your life feels like Joseph's right now. Maybe you've been betrayed. Maybe you've been placed in a situation that feels unfair, like you are being punished for something you didn't do. But listen to me, this is not your final chapter. The same God who raised Joseph out of the pit, out of the prison, and placed him in the palace is working in your life right now. Or think of David, anointed as king when he was just a boy, but did he step into his destiny immediately? No. Instead, he was hunted down, forced to hide in caves, running for his life, wondering when if ever God's promise would come to pass. He could have given up. He could have doubted. But he held on. And in the right time, after years of trials and refining, David became the greatest king Israel had ever known. And then there's Job, a man who had everything, who lived righteously, and yet, in an instant, lost it all: his family, his wealth, his health. And still, in the middle of his suffering, when everything in him could have screamed at God in anger, he held on. And in the end, after he had been tested and proven, God restored him beyond what he had before. You see, every great calling comes with great trials. If you are feeling the pressure right now, if you are wondering why life seems harder for you than for others, it's because you are being shaped for something greater. God does not waste pain. He does not allow suffering without purpose. What seems like an endless battle today could be the final chapter before your testimony. So don't give up. Don't lose faith. You are being prepared. You are being refined. What you are going through now is not a sign that you are forgotten. It's proof that you are chosen. And when the time comes, when you have been strengthened, when you have been molded into the person capable of carrying the blessing, you will see the struggle wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something greater than you ever imagined. If you have never prayed at 3 Amma, this might be your moment to experience something new in your spiritual life. There is a reason why this hour carries so much weight, why so many people wake up without explanation, feeling something stirring inside them. This is not just another hour, it is a divine invitation. A call to step into a sacred space where heaven and earth feel closer. Prayer is not just words. It's not just a habit or something we do when we need help. Prayer is connection. It is stepping into the presence of God, aligning your spirit with His will, opening yourself to hear, to receive, to be transformed. And at 3 Amma, when the distractions of the world are gone, when everything is still, the voice of God is clearer. It is in this silence that the greatest revelations come. Think about it. How many times during the day do you say, "I don't have time to pray"? How often are your prayers rushed, distracted, interrupted by messages, by work, by life? But at 3 Amir, there are no distractions. It is just you and God. No phone calls, no emails, no noise. Just pure, uninterrupted time with the one who created you. And maybe you're thinking, "But I don't know what to say." That's okay. You don't need elaborate words. You don't need a perfect script. All you need is a sincere heart. Sometimes the most powerful prayers are not long speeches, but simple words spoken from the depths of your soul. Sometimes all you need to say is, "God, I need you." Or, "God, show me the way," because He hears. Even the prayers you don't speak out loud, He hears. Even the tears you don't explain, He understands. I want to challenge you. If you have never done this before, if you have never stepped into the power of prayer at this sacred hour, I want you to take this step. I want you to commit. For 7 days, I challenge you to wake up at 3 Amma and pray. Just 7 days. 7 moments of silence before God. 7 opportunities to seek His voice, His direction, His presence. And during those 7 days, I want you to write down what happens, what you feel, what you hear, what changes. Because I promise you something will change. This is not a ritual. This is not just an exercise in discipline. This is an invitation into a deeper relationship with God. A moment where you set everything aside, even your own comfort, to say, "God, I'm here, I'm listening." And when you do that, when you truly open your heart in that way, He responds. There are stories of people who started praying at 3 Amma and experienced breakthroughs they never expected. People who had been struggling with anxiety, who had felt lost for years, who had been desperate for answers, who, after just a few nights of meeting with God in the stillness, felt a peace they hadn't known before, who received clarity, who saw doors open that had been closed for years. And maybe right now you're thinking, "But I don't feel strong enough." You don't have to be. Maybe you're saying, "But I don't think I have enough faith." You don't have to. Because the truth is, God doesn't respond to perfection. He responds to honesty. He responds to the person who shows up, who says, "I don't have all the answers. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here." So I ask you, are you willing to take this step? Are you willing to set aside 7 nights, 7 moments, to see what happens when you truly seek God? Are you willing to see what He might reveal to you? Because if you are, I want you to declare it right now. Type it in the comments. Say it out loud. I accept the challenge, because this could be the beginning of something life-changing. This could be the moment where everything shifts. And it all starts with one decision, one moment of surrender, one simple, sincere prayer. Right now, don't just listen to this prayer. Don't just hear the words as if they were routine. Say them. Speak them with conviction. Let them come from the depths of your soul, believing that something is shifting in the spiritual realm, that something is being moved in your life at this very moment. When Jesus gave us this prayer, He wasn't just giving us words, He was giving us a key to alignment, to provision, to deliverance, to the presence of God. So as you say these words, don't just repeat them. Feel them, mean them. Declare them over your life that Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. This prayer has power. You didn't just say words, you made a declaration over your life. You aligned yourself with the will of God. You acknowledge that He is your provider, that He is your protector, that His kingdom reigns over every situation you are facing. You asked for forgiveness and committed to extending that same grace to others. You called on His power to deliver you from the things that try to pull you down. And you surrendered to the reality that His kingdom, His authority, and His glory are greater than anything happening in this world. Millions of people say this prayer every day, but very few stop to truly understand it. Very few pause to let the weight of these words sink in. Today, you didn't just recite a prayer, you stepped into its truth. And now, something is different. You might not feel it right away, but trust me, something shifted. When you align your spirit with God's truth, things begin to change, doors begin to open, burdens begin to lift. The things that once seemed impossible start to make sense. And if this prayer touched you, if you felt something shift in your heart, I want you to do something. I want you to share this message with someone who needs it. There is someone in your life who is searching, who is struggling, who needs to know that there is hope. And right now, you have the opportunity to be the person who brings that light to them. You never know how one simple act of sharing can change everything for someone. And remember, 3 can be the turning point in your life. It can be the moment where everything shifts. But it all comes down to what you do today. Tomorrow doesn't have to be the same as yesterday. Your breakthrough, your clarity, your answered prayer, it could be closer than you think. But you have to take that step. You have to decide that you won't ignore the call, that you won't let this just be another message you listen to and forget. So right now, make that commitment. Choose to seek. Choose to trust. Choose to believe that something greater is coming. Because it is. And this is just the beginning.